Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Martini. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having an amazing time. We are off to a great start. Guys, it is midnight. I'm supposed to wake up for work in a few hours, and I really debated whether or not I should podcast today, but the thing is, I have the entire house to myself, and this is as quiet as it's going to get. So I was like, I'm not going to waste that opportunity, even if I shouldn't podcast right now and I should prioritize sleep because I have a very long day ahead. But uh, we have no time to waste, so let's just get straight into it. Wait, you know what? Actually, okay, a little deviation before we start. Here's something I need to tell you. Well, that's like the whole point of the podcast, like me telling you the stuff that I want to tell you. But guys, I am always so nervous when it comes to how do I do the introductions to the podcast and how do I set the scene. And I'm so happy that this, like, hi everyone, welcome or welcome back, whatever, established itself as some sort of like a given introduction, a given first sentence or two, because like I genuinely don't know how to start an episode. And I don't know if you would want to take, like, if you would enjoy a long intro or just get, straight directly to the point. I don't know if me giving the information of why I'm podcasting today or not, or setting the scene, I don't know if you find that interesting. So please, 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 please just tell me, right? Just like if you have any suggestions, like just tell me if you like this. I don't know if I'm going to change it because this is how it comes the most natural. But if you have any suggestions on how to make this less awkward for everybody involved, do let me know because this is literally the most and perhaps the only painful part of podcasting, which is the starting. And I feel like once we lay our cards on the table and just set the expectations we have of each other, towards each other, like there's an expectation you should have. I do not know the proper propositions. I feel like I say this in every single episode, but like today, especially, my English wasn't Englishing at all because most of the day I actually spoke in Dutch. Who would have thought that's possible? Not me. But I did that. Super proud of myself. I feel like my accent is a hate crime. And I apologize to Dutch people because, especially now, so like close to their national holiday, I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying. But what is not helping is when you switch to English when you hear my accent or when I ask you to repeat something. Can we? Can we not? Thank you. So, yeah, just let me know if you enjoy the long intros, which are completely unnecessary, in which I say nothing of substance, or if you would like me to just like get straight to the point without like actually sometimes I don't even know what the point is, which is also like what I'm doing today. But yeah, just let me know what you feel like. Because the thing is, as you've probably noticed, like sometimes I just start talking and something reminds me of something and I follow a trail which doesn't follow my path, which like I don't know where I'm going. And I'm so used to not making sense. But the thing is, here at least, I want to make sense. So, yeah. Also, just a heads up, just 20 minutes ago, uh, my friend and I submitted a group project. Well, the first stage of our group project, we have 11 more deadlines. Yes, you heard that correctly. 11, like Millie Bobby Brown and Stranger Things. When is that going to come on? Like, I am very, very excited for that one. Well, if Netflix decides to give me access to its platform that I'm paying for, but what did I want to say? Oh yeah, like I just submitted a project and I had a long day and I have a long day ahead. So What am I going to talk about? I have no clue. So, here's the thing. It is the 26th of April, which is King's Night usually, but today that is King's Day. And I've never celebrated King's Day, which is the main national holiday of the Netherlands, which is, as you can imagine, the birthday of the king. And actually, okay, here's me exposing my stupidity. I used to think that King's Day is just a set day that the Netherlands has celebrated for however long the Netherlands has existed, until I actually put two and two together and realized that if we are celebrating the birthday of the king, that is tied to the king, the current king himself. So before that, they had a queen. So I would assume it wasn't referred to as King's Day, but Queen's Day. And it was perhaps celebrated on the Queen's birthday. And I know that this should all be so extremely obvious, but I had never thought about it. And see, the thing is, okay, never mind. Like, that's like the origin of King's Day. Wow, like the day the king was born. Doesn't matter. I mean, like, the king matters. Oh, actually, I don't know how I feel about a monarchy. To be honest, I don't think about them. I don't necessarily care. And I don't know if this will get me deported by saying this, but I just don't dwell on them. I know that they exist. I know that they're there, but I don't necessarily sit and wonder, oh, what is the royal family thinking today? Go do your thing, like, girl, slay, slay. I mean, wait, slay, when used with royalties and monarchies, usually means actually maybe decapitating something. So maybe don't slay in that way, but slay in a Gen Z way. Anyway, so King's Day is usually celebrated by you getting extremely, extremely drunk. And mainly by drinking beer, because, Heineken is Dutch and whatever. And you just wear orange, which is the Dutch national color. And you're just out the entire day, and there are festivals, there's markets, because as far as I know, the VAT, is it like value added tax, like that thing? Yeah, is not applied to people just selling their stuff on the street. So anyone can sell anything they want, and basically the city looks like a large garage sale. And there is a parade, I believe, and it's just a nice tradition, a nice celebration. And I personally, yeah, again, I don't care about the monarchy, but the thing is, I would love to celebrate a king's birthday simply because of what it symbolizes. And so the king's birthday is on the 27th of April. And so the day before King's Day is King's Night, which is the 26th. And the problem is, I've never celebrated King's Day or King's Night because the first year I arrived here, it was COVID times. It was, well, COVID-ish. And I remember just walking around the town with one of my housemates for a little bit, but there was nothing too special. And then every other year, I have had to work on King's Day and on King's Night as well, which is when people go out to drink and demolish their liver. And then they sober up on King's Day, then they have brunch and drink again. And yeah, but it's just, I've never celebrated. And I just remember when I was a waitress, it was perhaps my worst shift. Well, my two worst. Well, because like the thing is, it was my first waitress, like server shift in more than 4 months, because the company I was looking for, they played their cards well, which means that I was fucked. So basically the horeca, as it is referred, which means hotels, restaurant, cafes, it's a seasonal business. There is a seasonal drop, And there's, for example, more work during the summer holidays, and there's significantly less work during winter, which is when people are depressed, but also when people are broke, because after Christmas people have spent all their money on gifts and they don't have the disposable income to go to restaurants, especially the restaurant I used to work at, because it was, I mean, it wasn't a fancy restaurant, but it was an expensive restaurant. And because of that thing, slow season during Christmas was really, really slow. And if you were one of the lucky ones to be scheduled, you would get sent home 2 hours into your 8 hour shift, and they would be like, yeah, we're not paying you the next 6 hours. So, like, you figure out what you do with those 20 euros which you earn per week. Like, good luck. Sucks to be you. But the thing is, during Christmas, naturally, they were prioritizing people who had fixed hour contracts rather than the rest of us who, well, the literally 200 other people in that company. But so they were prioritizing people with fixed hour contracts than us, people with 0 hour contract, because that is the loop of 0 hour contract. They allow you a lot of flexibility, which when you're a student is what you value and you need, because your schedule can be very demanding. But it sucks because that does not guarantee you that you will get scheduled for ever. Like, they cannot schedule you and practically fire you simply by not scheduling you, and they are totally okay legally. So, not fun. But basically, during that period, there were barely any shifts, and it was basically this bloodbath for shifts whenever a shift would open up. And the thing is, I personally never got scheduled. And because I needed money, I just started picking up cleaning shifts, which were the ones that were more available than the ones that were for helping customers. Because, well, it's a cleaning shift. Like, it starts at 6 a.m., which meant that I would have to wake up at 4:30. It is 9 hours straight, no break. You clean the entire stories of the restaurant. You clean toilets, you clean sticky floors and everything. But the good thing about cleaning the stuff is that on Saturdays and Sundays in the morning, you would find a lot of loose change on the floor because people would be too drunk the day before, and they would just drop their money and not care enough to pick it up. And this one time, I found a 20 euro bill on the floor, and I've never been more happier in my life. More happier, is that like a thing? Like is it grammatically correct? I don't know. I don't care. But I found a 20 euro bill, and I was extremely, extremely excited. And I was very torn because I was like, oh, do I give it to my supervisor? But then I knew that if I gave this money to my supervisor, I would not see even a cent of that money. So I was like, I'll just keep it to myself. And I kept it to myself. And I will not consider this stealing because I just found it on the ground, even though it was on restaurant property. But did I just incriminate myself into like committing fraud or theft? I hope not, because like I was talking to my colleagues recently, and they were telling me how, because of my outspokenness regarding certain political issues, I could, for example, be declined a visa when it comes to like entering the US, which I guess would suck because, like, even though I would not want to live in the US, I would love to visit. Like, there are things I would love to explore. And sure, like, the podcast can be the thing that denies me entry to that country. And would that suck? Probably. But can I still look myself in the mirror and sleep peacefully at night, knowing that I've stayed true to myself and spoken my truth? Absolutely. So, pros and cons, pros and cons. But basically, I started picking up the cleaning shifts. And because the company saw that I was willing to do that, because I have this extreme motivation, I have a passion for being able to afford groceries. And I was willing to do any job simply to be able to buy bread. Not that the bread here is good necessarily. It's just like, guys, again, I'm just like used to a completely different flavor palette and a completely different quality when it comes to fruits, vegetables, dairy, um, pastries, and whatever. So maybe the food here isn't shit. Maybe I just have an acquired taste that I have acquired to having access to tasteful food. That was shady. But yeah, so I started taking the cleaning shifts, and because the company saw that I was willing to do this, they just started taking advantage of this and basically exploiting me to do the cleaning shifts, even though my contract clearly stated that I was hired to be a server. But because I needed the money, I never dared to like pose any questions. And the thing is, they never scheduled me again to be a server until Kingsday, which is literally the busiest day of the year. And I think it was very shitty of them to do that, because for 4 months I had lost my flair. I had lost my stability, my approach when it came to, at the very least, walking with a tray in one hand, let alone walking with a tray with 8 to 12 large Heineken. When I eventually got that shift, I just remember that during that shift I did 30,000 steps, just going back and forth from the bar to the tables, from the bar to the tables. And that was in the span of, I think, 8 hours. And that was one of the worst shifts ever, because it was so extremely busy and I just could not feel my legs afterwards, and I just could not enjoy the celebration of my time off, because I was working. And the thing is, you're dealing with drunk people, or like people in the process of getting drunk, or people who were drunk then sobered up and now they're like in the process of getting drunk again because they cannot deal with sobriety, which honestly, fair, understandable. But like, I'm not condoning drinking on the job, but let's just say that it was impossible. Well, or perhaps it was just, let's say, necessary to drink during that shift. And like, I'm not going to say that I had a shot or two, but like, I cannot confirm or deny. I have incriminated myself enough during this episode. The funny thing is, tipping culture, for whatever reason, is so not a thing here. I feel like it's because everything is paid for by phone, and like by default you don't add tips when you pay by phone. But because also maybe I live in a student city and everybody is counting their last cents, so they don't necessarily also have the opportunity to tip the way servers deserve or like would love to be tipped. So when I was working for that restaurant, I would get like 10 euros of tips per month on a good month. And yes, I'm not lying, I am saying per month because it was per month. Like, tips were giving out monthly, and they were given out in those fancy envelopes. And I'm not lying, like, when I say that's full on mockery, because you're presenting me with this envelope with my name handwritten on it, and you're making such a big deal out of it to give me 10 euros. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. But like, what is the point of giving me 10 euros for an entire month, for 30 days? Because I feel like you're just making fun of me at this point, and you're doing it directly in my face, and it's just don't give me the money at that point. Like, and after that shift, I just remember. So I was like, after that King's Day shift, I was doing at that time ethnographic research with my friends, and they had spent the entire day doing the ethnographic part at the market I told you about and at the festivals. And I was trying to do it at the restaurant, but it was a tad bit difficult to stay concentrated on, like, am I in an academic mindset or am I in the mindset of like pure survival mode? Because you just need to survive King's Day as someone who works in the service industry, which is going to be me in 6 hours. Um, so that is fun. But basically, we were doing ethnographic research on the celebrations of King's Day. And as you can imagine, my personal findings weren't as interesting as the findings my friends had, because my only interactions were with drunk Dutchies, drunk Dutch guys, with Manny the Mammoth from Ice Age type of hairstyles. So, yeah, like, what was that offensive? I think it was. Maybe, like, future me, editing me, consider editing this out, because I feel like this could, like, be turned against you. But again, hashtag staying truthful to my experience. Um, and so after my shift, my friends and I, we went for a drink because I needed it. And also, when I say I needed it, just know that I'm quoting Cheryl Cole from that one, like, Graham Norton interview, when she says, like, I needed it. And then Michael B. Jordan says something and she's just like flustered because, girl, honestly, same. Like, honestly, if I saw Michael B. Jordan walking down the street, I would just walk past him, because again, I don't wear my glasses when I walk outside, so I most likely will not see him. But I feel like he has this aura to himself, though. Like, even if you cannot see him, you would sense that there is someone there. Like, guys, I really want to see Sinners, and I think this is what I'm going to do next week, because I haven't been to the cinema this month, and we know what I've. Oh my god, wait, it's like next week still April? It better be. Yeah, wait, no, like today is Saturday, and it's. Yeah, it's. Yeah, of course. Um, oh my god, what is this episode? Like, I feel like I'm making literally no sense, and I'm so not coherent. But basically, my friends and I, we went out for a drink, and this one guy approached me, which extremely interesting for our ethnographic research and extremely annoying for me as a person. So he tried to, like, hit on me, but I was really not in the mood to be hit on or to entertain anyone. So I just started speaking to him in Bulgarian. He approached me in Dutch, I reply in English. He asks in English, I reply in Bulgarian. And he starts asking me what language I'm speaking. And he's like, Russian. And then in Russian, I reply that I'm not speaking Russian. Then he's like, Espanol, Spanish. And I'm like, no habla español. And he's like, Deutsch? And I'm like, nein, nein, ach, ich spreche kein Deutsch. And then he's like, Nederlands? And I'm like, nee, geen Nederlands. And then that continued for a few more languages, and whatever language he would ask me if I'm speaking in, I would just reply in that language saying that I do not speak that language. And it was just like such a mindfuck for him, and it was the funniest interaction for me and my friends. And the thing is, his friends were also, like, on the side laughing at him, kind of, because, like, the guy was not sober. And, like, was I mocking him? Sure. Like, today, with this episode, I'm really not painting myself in the best way. Like, first thief, then, like, saying some stuff period. And now this. Am I a terrible person? Because, like, today my colleague asked me, like, what's the worst thing you've ever done in your entire life? And I was like, and I don't know. I really don't know. Um, so yeah, that was like literally one of the funniest things, I swear. And like, oh, okay, so maybe it's one of those situations where it's like you had to be there, but I swear, like, in the moment it was funny. I feel like I am not necessarily a good storyteller, or sometimes I just don't do the stories the justice they deserve, which is a shame because, like, considering that the entire thing that I'm doing here is storytelling, but it's just that it was one of those, like, you had to be there. And yeah, I feel like that's it. If you didn't find it entertaining, you had to be there. It was one of my I'm so cool moments because at the very least that made for amazing ethnographic research. So, two birds with one stone, got a man off my back and got some data for my ethnography. Um, so this year I really, really wanted to celebrate the King's Day. The King's Day, not the King's Day. Oh my god. Uh Let me readjust again. Recording on my bed with like this frame that's like older than the king himself. Um but basically I really wanted to celebrate King's Day this year because again, I've never celebrated King's Day and this is my fourth year living in this country, and I feel like it's such a shame that I've never celebrated their national holiday. So I made it explicitly clear to myself to set expectations so that I can go and celebrate King's Day and like just like set boundaries when it came to work, when it came to university. And because like I really wanted to go to the market for the first time. I wanted to go to a festival perhaps, to just drink a beer and like enjoy potentially the sun if it decides to show up, because I'm still wearing my winter jacket, and today on my way home from work I was freezing and my heater is turned up to the max because my nose is runny. I just took a hot shower and I'm so scared that I'm going to catch a cold because this is so extremely possible because the weather has been shit. So, yeah, I really wanted to celebrate because also, like, the week after next week, I have midterms, and those midterms are killing me. So a month ago for work, when they requested our availability for those holidays, because, well, naturally, like, if you are a restaurant, you want to be open on King's Day because that is one of those. So we have this saying in Bulgarian where it's like, one day of the year can feed an entire year. It's like you can make so much profit in one day to like compensate for not making profit on like a certain another day or something like this. So when they requested our availability for those holidays, because like in April, uh there are a lot of holidays here in the Netherlands, and like people keep complaining, especially my lecturer keeps complaining about how there's a lot of holidays in the Netherlands, and it's just like, wait until you guys come to Bulgaria, where we literally in May have like 5 business days in the entire month because there's so many holidays, and especially if Easter is there, like is I was about to say schedule. If Easter falls in May as well, and then if it falls like not Easter, like Easter is on a Sunday, but like if there's a holiday that falls on a Thursday, we give each other also the Friday, and we just have like a long weekend from Thursday to Sunday. And we, I mean, what can I say? Productive, hustling, hardworking folk. So I just made it explicitly clear that I am okay with working on the 25th, that I'm okay with working on the 26th, which is King's Night. So to work until the afternoon so that I can spend King's Night. And then I would be able to, sleep in because I would be unavailable to work on King's Day because King's Day is also Sunday. And what is Sunday, you guys? It is Dirty Martini Day. Yes. Um, so I was super hyped and I was so looking forward to my very first King's Day celebration on the 27th of April. And then they decided to change King's Day. King's Day is celebrated on the 26th of April this year, and King's Night on the 25th. And let me rewind to a minute ago. I said that I'm okay with working on the 25th and on the 26th. Guess who's scheduled for 8-hour shifts both days? Yeah. I don't even know if I'm going to get paid more because, like, usually on holidays you're supposed to get paid more, but also I have a 0-hour contract, so I feel like this eradicates the obligation my employer would have to pay me extra during holidays. But fuck the extra pay, man. Like, it's just the fact that at this point, it's personal because the one time I'm like, I am going to give it my all to celebrate King's Day, they change King's Day. And I will miss the market, I will miss the festival, I will miss the beer, I will miss every single thing. And at this point, again, it feels personal because they know, like, trust me, they knew, they've been known, like they've been new, like, well, English, I don't give a shit. They knew how much I wanted to celebrate King's Day, and maybe I do deserve this. Like, I know I come here and I talk a lot of shit about the Netherlands, but you know what? Maybe I do deserve this. But this means war. Well, maybe I shouldn't use this in this political state of the world right now. But it's just like, it's going to perpetuate the cycle of my hatred. Just so you know. And sure, maybe next year. But like, just in case next year I'm going to take time off from the 25th until the 28th so that I know that at least in this time frame there would be a chance for me to drink a beer without having to serve customers because, well, I don't know if I would want to work. Well, I know I don't want to work in customer service long term because I am so not cut out for this with my anger issues. But I don't know if next year I would be working in customer service. But it's just like, I don't feel like I'm requesting a lot, you know? And I cannot even get the little things that I'm requesting and look forward to. So that is exciting. And also, like, when I'm talking about drinking, I don't want you guys to think that I'm some sort of like an alcoholic out there who drinks day in and night and like whatever. That is so not true. And if I drink a cider 3 times a year, that is considered a lot for me. And no, I know to my Balkans listening, I know I'm betraying us. I know. But the thing is, growing up in the Balkans, and of course, like, this is a generalization and it would fit and like perpetuate a certain stereotype, but you know what? Like, it was my experience. So I started drinking rather early. Like, it's very common that we start drinking when we're 12, 13, 14. And I know that sounds ridiculous to someone if they're coming from a country where children don't drink alcohol. But it's the truth. Like, I've never been denied alcohol. In Bulgaria, like, legally, stores are not allowed to sell alcohol and cigarettes to people under 18, but like, you can send your 3-year-old child to the store to buy beer for you and they would sell that beer to them and no one would bat an eye and would be like, yeah, that's totally normal. That's whatever. So I've never been denied alcohol. And like, even when I was a child, like, even like in the family, in the home, my family was like, I would rather you try alcohol at home in a safe environment, when we know you are trying quality alcohol rather than go and experiment out there in the world with something that was made in someone's basement and you get poisoned because they didn't do it properly. So I'm extremely lucky that I got this type of mentality in my family that I grew up with. And so alcohol was not something that was forbidden, which I feel like it was one of the main reasons I did not crave it. And that is actually one of the main reasons, or perhaps the reason I was not like a rebellious diva teenager, because my parents did not constrain me in any way. Well, I mean, like, I still had to be at home by 10, but like, I was, it was okay that I hung out with people, that we went places and stuff. It was, like, they were okay with me trying everything, doing everything, because they instilled this responsibility in me and they knew they could trust me because, not to toot my own horn, but I'm a highly responsible person. And I've been like that ever since I was a child. So I was also the person who, like, if my friends were with me, their parents knew they don't have to worry. And like my friend's mom, she always just like, she straight up calls me, doesn't call her daughter, she just calls me and is like, hey, is everything okay, and whatever. So I am so happy that people trust me enough to trust me with this responsibility of like those stuff. I feel very honored. And yeah, so I was like, because it was like this ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was a kid, I've been a G. Whatever. I've listened to that song like 3 times. I don't know like the lyrics. Like I fully messed up the lyrics, I'm sure. Like actually, like The Weeknd's new album, I've listened to probably like 2 or 3 songs. I didn't even finish the whole album. And I know, I gave a lot of money 2 years ago to go see The Weeknd. And I stand by that choice even though it was not like a great experience. But yeah, I haven't listened to his new stuff and like I don't know when I will, but like Starboy is such a good album, and Beauty Behind the Madness, like help, I'm still at the restaurant. Also, like guys, like recently I've been listening to so much Folklore by Taylor Swift, and I feel like that is whether wherever you stand on Taylor Swift, because she's one of those polarizing figures for some justified, some non justified reasons. I feel like we can all collectively come together as people and recognize that Folklore is some of the most touching poetry about human experiences ever, I would say, because that is pure poetry. It is accompanied by music, but it is poetry. And like don't come here and arguing that this is just what songs are in general, but those are just so beautiful and heartbreaking and so crushing and so understanding. So yes, alcohol, um I was allowed to do everything and anything as long as I was honest about it, because nothing was forbidden and I didn't find anything to be unattainable, and therefore I didn't find anything to be a must. So maybe that's like a pro tip for parents who are like, just so you know, I don't have children, so like take my advice when it comes to parenting at your own risk. So don't blame me if you break your child. Your child is your responsibility. I didn't birth that child. That child is, even though I'm a responsible person, they are not my responsibility the way they are your responsibility. So maybe like the more you restrict your child, the more likely they are to rebel. But if there's nothing they can rebel against, they're just going to grow up. And the thing is, so I started going to clubs and going to house parties rather early in my life. And honestly, by the time I was 18, I was so done with drinking. And it's ironic because by the time it was legal for me to drink, I gave up alcohol and became sober. And also, it was because I got my driver's license and I would go everywhere by car because I don't live in the town I live in. Like, I live in a village girl. I'm an island girl. Me, when I recognize that my house is surrounded by trees, I'm a village girl. Um, yeah. And I would go everywhere by car and I would never ever drink and drive. And I don't think you should either. I don't mean to tell you what to do, but like, don't drink and drive. Just don't. That is the stupidest, the most extremely stupid and irresponsible thing to do. So please don't do it. I know I always say embarrassment is a choice. If you decide to drink and drive, you should be embarrassed. Yep. Yep. And you should bear your consequences. But the problem is that if you drink and drive, someone else might bear the consequences of your stupid decisions. So, I would rather you stay the night, or if you don't have the money for a taxi, we'll figure something out. We'll find a solution. But don't ever drink and drive. It is not worth it. I promise you it is not worth it. It is not fun. It is not cool. You're not impressing anyone. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to steal my friends' keys because they were thinking they're going to be impressive by drinking and driving. It's not impressive. It's annoying. It's stressful. It's embarrassing. It's straight up stupid. And it is you risking not only your life, but risking the life of everyone you might come across on the road. And that is a big responsibility to care. And I don't think that's a responsibility anyone should have to care, like, not care, take, because nobody should drink and drive. Also, one of the big reasons I've never been like drunk, because the thing is, I've only been tipsy. I've like for two or three times in my life, even like I've only done it in the Netherlands, so I've never done it in Bulgaria. Not only because I'm everywhere by car, but also because my previous friend group was not necessarily reliable when it came to taking care of drunk people. And the thing is, so my, well, it wasn't my friend group, it was one of my closest friends' extended friend group. So they were friends by association. If I saw them on the street now, I would not be able to recognize any of them. But I just remember I so desperately wanted every single one of them to like me because insecurity. So look at me now. I wanted to be adored by someone whose face I don't even remember. How interesting. So that friend group that I'm referring to, they were the type of people to drink to get blackout, which honestly, like when you're a teenager, you cannot savor alcohol. You cannot appreciate alcohol. You don't give a shit about the notes of the wine. You're just drinking to get blackout drunk, and you would just drink the cheapest green apple flavored vodka, which now you honestly cannot pay me to drink. But the thing is, back then, it was the shit because it was so cheap. It was a lot, and it's vodka. It's versatile. It's a mixer. It can be drunk, yeah. Ironically, straight. So yeah, don't, like, oh my god, guys, like, don't get the green apple vodka. Like, ew, 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 ew. So yeah, again, I'm a responsible person, and people knew this back then, and they kind of took advantage of it in a way. I mean, like, it benefited them definitely, because and at times this responsibility has quite literally saved lives, even though the irresponsibility of the people I felt responsible for got me in trouble. But that's a story for another time. Let's just stick to this one that I meant to tell you now. So, the people I was with, they knew that even if they got blacked out, if I was present there, they would be taken proper care of. And I just remember we were in this one party, and so much happened then, so much happened there. But I'm just going to mention this one aspect because I don't like, if I delved deeper into everything else that happened at that party, I would definitely, like, to the future recruiter who's listening to this to see if I'm a good fit for their company, I'm doing you a favor by not sharing this. So basically, I just remember that at this one birthday party, the birthday girl had rented out a villa, like a house in the outskirts or in a village. And this is what we used to do back then. Like, we would just like rent out a house and just, party, like stay the night and whatever, have barbecue, have drinks, play games, dance, sing, whatever. And I just remember during this one specific party, there was this guy. I didn't know, like, I knew of him. He was part of the gymnastics team when I was younger, but we weren't friends necessarily. We knew of each other. And I just remember that he drank straight vodka. But the thing is, he mixed it with some other liquors. And here's the thing, guys. Don't mix alcohols. Even if you hate yourselves, don't mix alcohols. It's literally, like, it's not going to do you any good. Like, and I know, don't come around here and tell me that cocktails are a mixed alcohol. Yeah, but there's like a science behind it, and not just you mixing beer with vodka, with whiskey, with Jägermeister, with a rakia, with wine, and then with I don't know, like your hand sanitizer because you ran out of alcohol. So don't drink hand sanitizer, by the way. What is this episode? Like, what am I saying? Like, how I said anything of substance? Speaking of substances, let's continue with the story. So, that guy, he was drinking like a lot, and he eventually lost consciousness. And I just remember the guys took him, carried him to the bathroom, and left him on the bathroom floor. And honestly, with friends like these, who needs enemies? That's all I'm going to say regarding them. Actually, no, they were extremely irresponsible and approached the situation in an extremely stupid and risky way, because the thing is, they put him on the bathroom floor, but on his back. And that guy would just wake up every now and then to vomit. But the thing is, if someone vomits in their sleep and they're laying on their back, you can count on them choking on their spit up and dying. So I feel like I was the only one at that function to recognize this. And yeah, so also, like, when you when you undergo first aid lessons or instructions or whatever you want to call them, like, they instruct you on how to approach people who are not conscious. So I put him in the correct position to the side. Guys, if someone is about to, like, is not conscious and they're puking, con like in their unconsciousness, or they wake up, puke, and then like lose consciousness again, you have to put them to the side so that the spit up just like leaks out of them rather than stays in their mouth. Because if it stays in their mouth, again, they will choke on that vomit and die. So I just remember I spent the entire birthday since that point on looking after that guy. And nobody else would even care to look at him. And it's just like, there was such a big potential of that guy like dying if I didn't interfere and be like, hey, not interfere, interfere, and be like, hey, you are going to kill him if you leave him like this, because that person has lost full control of his body, and his survival is kinda in your hands. And I'm not saying it's your responsibility to make sure he survives, but make sure that he's taken proper care of. And it's just that, oh, God forbid something like this ever happens again. But it's just, so I stayed the entire night with this practically stranger, just looking over him, and I put him to the side, and I put him like in the position that you're supposed to put drunk people in case they throw up. And I was just taking care of him the entire night. And whenever he would throw up, I would just clean it. And oh my God, like, well, I mean, I know why I did that, because I would not be able to live with myself had, God forbid, something happened to him. But I, like, so here's the thing. I know that if I were in his position, first of all, he himself personally couldn't have cared less if I lived or died. But second of all, like, that particular combination of people would have left me out there to choke on my spit up and die. And it's like, that is such a vivid memory in my head. And I feel like it was such a big contributor to me making the decision to never, at least, I mean, never say never, but like to make the conscious choice to not be blackout. Because this incident just scared me so much, because seeing that man and how he lost full control of his body, I would never want to be in a situation like that, especially when I'm in an environment where I know I'm not going to be taken care of. I mean, now thankfully the friends I have, I know I can trust, but like back then, though, I mean, those people, they were not my friends. They were friends of my friend, but it's just like, like, have this human responsibility towards each other. I mean, like, I would imagine that those people now would be more responsible because we're no longer 14 or 15, but there's just like, there should be some responsibility when it comes to the other person, whether it's the love of your life or a stranger. And you don't leave people out there to die. And it's like, I know, like, you're probably thinking that I'm taking this too seriously, but like, that is a legit possibility. And I feel like this experience just scarred me a lot and made me feel so uncomfortable that with the concept of being drunk, me myself, not others, and that's also like the reason I've never tried any drugs. Also, again, future recruiter, if you're listening to this, I haven't tried any drugs. I am very, very scared to try any drugs, and I don't see that changing anytime soon because drugs terrify me. I'm just terrified of the concept of losing control of my body and not knowing how to. I don't know how I would react. So I don't want to be unable to control my moves, my words. And that is just terrifying to me. And No, please don't therapize me and say, oh, with like the inability to let go of control is indicative of this and that. Like, no, I just don't want to be unconscious and be someone else's responsibility in that sense. So please, guys, please, 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 please drink responsibly if you're going to experiment with stuff. And if you're going to experiment with stuff, experiment in a safe environment with people who you can trust. And to my ladies, please make sure that you're with people you trust, especially when you're around men. Like, make sure that you can be in control of your body. Be careful. And I know that teenagers don't usually have a lot of money, but like, if you're going to experiment with quality alcohol and quality whatever it is that you want to experiment with, because if you get something off the market or something from a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of your dog, you're putting yourself in unnecessary risk. So keep that in mind. Please be responsible, guys. I know that it's appealing, it's interesting, it's curious, it's something sometimes you do just to fit in, but think about it. Think just there's certain decisions in life that we take that we cannot walk away from. And I'm not saying this to scare you and to force you into sobriety forever. It's just be mindful. And please don't ever feel pressure to take any substances, period. Don't feel pressured by anyone. And if you are ever pressured, please take a step back and recognize that you're not in an environment in which you deserve to be or would want to be. Because, for example, all of my friends smoke cigarettes, all of my friends drink alcohol. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and they never pressure me to do it. Have they offered the first couple of times? Yes. Have I said no every single time? Yes. Did they finally, because like they ask out of like, you know, like, oh, would you like one? Like the common courtesy. But like they've realized that I'm just like not going to do it. So respect yourself enough to surround yourself with people who respect your saying no. Surround yourself with people who recognize that you have the right to choose, and surround yourself with quality people if you're going to experiment with quality stuff. And just don't put yourself in unnecessary risk when it comes to your health and your life altogether. I would rather you be perceived as boring than do something you're uncomfortable with to appease to people who don't respect you enough to respect your no. This literally went in a completely different direction than the one I thought it was going to. I started off with like Kingsday stuff. You know what? I say let's leave it at this. Be responsible, guys. Stay safe, be mindful, and just take care of yourselves. Before you turn into someone else's responsibility, you are your own responsibility. Please don't forget that. And with that being said, I wanted to thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!